Welcome to Season 3 of This Is How My Brain Works, the podcast about living, thriving, and laughing through the ups and downs of neurodiversity. We explore the real stories, the real struggles, and the real strengths that come with thinking differently. All right, welcome to another episode of This Is How My Brain Works. We've been chatting about what we should talk about today on today's episode. And I said we should have recorded that because I think it's very entertaining as we ping pong our way through lots of ideas, including conspiracy theories to news headlines and whatnot. But one of the things that kind of emerged was, first of all, I'm Michael Collins, joined by Krista Gano and Sarah Hines. Jason Rudofsky is on assignment.
I just want to pause and let you know that I think I sent that thought to you telepathically.
You did, yes. I received it. TSP tapes or whatever it is.
Telepathy tapes, yeah.
Telepathy tapes. So one thing that kind of blew my mind was we were talking about listening to podcasts and content, and Sarah says, you know that little button where you can ×2 on how fast. I'm butchering how to describe this, but
you want me to take it
yes,
over?
Please do.
So there's a button, not button. We don't have buttons anymore, but there's a spot on the screen on a reel that you press on the left side in the middle to make all the reels go at 2 times speed.
2 times the speed. So, and Krista's like, yeah. And so Sarah and Krista are both saying like, yeah, how could we get things done if we weren't listening to everything at 2 times the speed? And I said, I can't handle that. I have to press pause. Sometimes I'm going back 15 seconds or 30 seconds because it's like, wait, what did they just say? Wait a minute. Because I'm having attention deficit on focusing on the thing. I'm like, oh, I just missed something important. I better go back and listen. So the idea of listening to something at twice the speed kind of freaks me out. I think that like this is something that you guys enjoy, though, or you find it necessary even to do that. So necessary. I will let you guys take it from there. I might even just.
I literally went. I mean, I try to put my finger to my microphone. I literally, when things are going too slow, because it sometimes sounds like this, that I literally want to go with like speed it up. Come on, come on,
get to the point.
Let's go. So for me, that whether it's an audio book or those reels things, as the 2 times is like that feels like perhaps the pace that I just speak normally, which maybe is not great.
Oh, interesting.
And it's rare. There's a few like decibels that I have trouble understanding at 2 times speed. Men with Southern accents, even though I'm from the South, and I know that accent really well. There's something about when they lose the part, it drops below the pitch of me being able to hear it, and the word becomes too fragmented. But that's very rare that I can't listen to podcast books. You can change the settings on videos on YouTube. All the things can be at 2. Well, there's a few things that can't be on 2 times. I recently discovered with my child that the Colorado Drive online course, which is mostly videos, cannot be 2 timed.
Oh, sure. Yeah, those things that the government stuff, like the real estate videos, same thing. You can't speed through that stuff. But now, what happened? So, Krista, you're saying it's just like, okay, let's get to the point or move things along. You're talking too slow.
So not to hop into another topic that you had sort of actually mentioned it when we were planning, but this idea of always being in a hurry or whatever, I don't feel like I'm necessarily always in a hurry. Like I don't, but I do feel like I get like if I'm in class, or when I was back in class, or when I'm listening to something, like, come on, get there. Let's get there. Let's, like I definitely am impatient, and I don't know if that's because my brain has already decided what it is you're going to say and is
usually right. It's
often right. Or if what it is.
Recognition, though.
Yeah.
So
sure.
To a certain extent. Go on.
Yeah, and it's also while I recognize that it's probably really selfish of me to be the person who's like, okay, let's drive it forward when there are other people who need things to go slower. And I do recognize that. I, it's why then it's so painful. You guys talk with the ADHD stuff about certain things being painful, like boredom is painful. It is if you had back in the school days, if you had a teacher that would not allow you to doodle while you were listening to them, that was physically painful because I wanted to stand up and say, well, you're going too damn slow. Maybe speed it up and we'll talk. But until then, I have to do something so that I don't get angry about this situation that I'm sitting in here bored. But it's a
Yeah.
different kind of bored because I'm not bored because there's nothing to do. I'm bored because you're not going fast enough for me. And I know you
Mhm.
can't because it shouldn't all be about me. But I gotta offload someplace else, whether it's like drawing pictures in the margins, doing
So
something
wait, I have a
else.
So for me, I would describe it as I need to always be doing two things or six things at once. I like not quite multitasking so much as having a lot of inputs and then back to make the joke. Too many, I then lose my shit. But I have to have all the inputs, and it makes me wonder, like, is it because as kids, our learning was so out of sync with what would have felt natural, been natural for us, that we were trained to always try to be running two operating systems at once, as opposed to being able to go deep on one thing. Because I feel like I've been fighting this feeling of needing to hurry and to do two things at once. And when I can slow down and do the one thing and hyper focus, or just what I would call normal focus, and then the rest of the time have that like peace and quiet and
Well, I
relaxation.
wonder if that's why the hyper focus. I was talking to somebody recently about hyper focus feeling like a mental health thing for me. Like I am off kilter if I have an entire week where I don't have at least one, and I'd rather have one every day, but at least one solid hyper focus session. Like I am off kilter, I'm short, I have a hard time like with dysregulation. Like I wonder if that has something to do with that, Sarah, the idea that we
Imagine a life,
crave that.
yeah. Imagine a life where what you're doing is the hyper focus and then the relaxation, the regenerative part, whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
or to sustain that hyper focus and yourself, which is sleeping, eating, exercise.
Well, I think the challenge with the hyper focus and why I mean, in some ways that sounds great, but also the hyper focus by nature is me by myself. And I think that there is a lot of loneliness to that if you
What
do
about
it too
improv?
much.
Can you hyper focus in improv?
No, no, because there's
Can
too
you,
much
Michael?
external.
Uh,
In a game.
not not as much. It's because it's still too there's so much going on. I think it's an interesting question because I think a lot of like stand-up comics and performers, improvers are, have ADHD, and so I think they do kind of get into a flow state or a hyper-focused state.
Yeah,
In
flow maybe is
that,
a better way to describe it. Flow. I like
yeah,
that.
and so they're kind of they're present to the situation. It's not overwhelming to them. It's not daunting to them. They can perform in that space. Um, and the
But I
really,
think, and I think
really,
the thing I was going to say, Michael, to add to that, I think the thing that we have is the ability, or at least I do, is the ability to shut off. Like it is to like go, I'm focused on this game or Michael or whatever right now. And that audience piece for me is lessened. Not that it doesn't exist, but it is lessened. Where I do think that there are people who go into that and like all they can think about is being watched or having the audience, having that audience there. So I think maybe that's part of that flow state too, is sort of being able to like dull out a piece of it and focus, which is also really relaxing is a wrong word because I don't want to call it relaxing. It's connective in a
Regenerative.
way. Yeah, it's regenerative. Yeah.
You know, kind of when your eyes, gosh, when your eyes go like focusless and you're staring at something and it's that soft, like and people go in front of your eyes to go like to wave their hand in front of your eyes to make you stop. That's such a wonderful feeling. That's kind of what
Well,
it's.
that's in a lot of guided meditations, they ask you, they say to try to do that, to
Oh,
try to do a soft gaze because it puts you into that state you're just talking about. So if you have that soft gaze, then you're able to kind of tune in internally a little better and get that mind body connection and all of that. Whereas if you don't have that soft, then you're more attentive to the details of things. Another thing is to like focus on just one thing, like for balance. If you're like in yoga or something and you're trying to do some sort of balance pose, you focus on one point I think they call it a drishti or something. You focus on one point because if you're just kind of looking all over the place, you lose that sense of balance and you can fall easier. So I think that's interesting, that soft gaze versus a focal point, what that does to you kind of internally.
It's so interesting because you think about when with yoga, for first of all, there was a period of time where I was like, if I do another sun salutation, I'm going to kill somebody. Like, could we do something else? Um, but that focus or that relaxation point, I mean, my brain just wouldn't do it. Like, my brain was always like, what do I need? I got to do something here. I got to blah, 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 until I hit hot yoga. And then you're just fighting for your life.
Right. Then your
So,
focus is on just staying
but
alive.
But when people were like, "Well, why do you do it if it's just so late?" And I go, "Because do you know how in some ways relaxing it is to be in a space where you are kind of fighting for your life." So my brain was always so quiet in hot yoga because my brain was just sort of like, just live through it. But it quieted everything.
Well, you had a very strong intention. So
Survive.
all your energy went into that intention. That's funny
Just
because at the beginning of a lot of classes, they're like, let's set an intention. Mine is to
live.
survive this class. It's about as
well, or
strong as you get.
90% of your focus was going towards surviving and breathing in that environment. And so your brain only had a little bit left to do the balancing, to do the.
Because when you think of it, it's such an assault. Hot yoga was such an assault on all of the senses, right? You've got the heat, you've got the humidity that they put up in those classes, and like I just remember being in some poses, and you'd feel like the one bead of sweat, and you couldn't like move it or touch it because you're in some stupid weird pose, and you can just feel it, and it just
And then it
like
starts to itch.
yeah, and every sensory thing in your body is just like, oh, I hate this. Why am I here?
Yeah.
But I was there because it was, it quieted my brain in ways that other things didn't.
Mhm.
I don't do it anymore because I'm not, because actually I stopped doing it honestly, not because of hot yoga, but because when we moved to a place that there wasn't a studio. There, like studios were all 20, 30 minutes away, which meant an hour and a half class plus an hour drive. Plus it was like, I just didn't have
Yeah.
time in my life to make
Yeah.
that
That's a long
work.
time.
But, it was, there's something to be said for being in and I wonder, and I don't know, Michael's the one who usually looks up statistics, and I'm going to say something that's a little cray cray. But I wonder if there's any sort of connection between us and things like BDSM and some of these other things where pain is a piece of the puzzle, or cutting, which is a horrible thing and obviously a mental health disorder. But I wonder if there are these correlations with these things where we do stuff to either feel more or feel less, or you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
what's interesting is that another thing we discussed before we started recording was alcohol consumption as a way to it almost removes some of that. That would be an example of feeling less. It's
Right.
like, oh, one of the reasons I would like I've cut back way back on alcohol because of just the way I get the anxiety the next morning and it's just not worth it. But it would quiet so much of the intrusive thoughts and overthinking and ruminations, and I could just like, it was like, oh, something got turned off in the brain where I could just kind of like relax and have fun. Um, it's not sustainable. I wish there was some other way you could kind of do that. I guess there is. There's exercise and meditation and those types of things that can where you can achieve that state. But
Go
alcohol was just
jump
such
off
an
a mountain, like
easy
paragliding. I
way.
mean, that seems
Right.
like some of that
So
adrenaline junkie stuff is also part of that too.
I think you're exactly right. So, and I think so. I think you're onto something. And I did have to Google BDSM. I was like, huh,
Leave it to Krista to
okay.
bring up the BDSM in the podcast.
Yeah, there she goes again, off on her BDSM tangent. But I think there is something to that as far as like what we're talking about is it's funny. It's not being comfortable in where we are. It's like either something needs to get calmed down or sped up, or it's like how are we able to just kind of exist in that flow and move with that and just adapt and make those adjustments as needed instead of, you know, I think it's a practice, but because otherwise, yeah, you're drinking, you're doing the thrill seeking stuff, you're doing listening to podcasts at twice the speed or
But that might be another connection to sort of improv in that space too, of like when we were talking, when Sarah mentioned, or when you both mentioned the flow, is that when you can get there with a trusted group of, individuals and you are in that flow and during improv, it's another version of sort of being able to relax into the moment and not feel like you've got to like have your radar up and control everything and figure it out. And as much as we've mentioned this before, but as much as improv feels really free and unstructured to the outside person, it's actually incredibly structured. You've got a ton of freedom within an understood structure of how it works, which allows you, I think, to relax and so that, and then layer on top of that this idea of it's a place for you to really, you can sort of let your mask down because no one knows what's real and not real, what's real or not real in that moment. And so you can sort of be whatever. Like that's a big layer of why I think maybe a lot of us are attracted to, the arts in general, but certainly improv
Mhm.
as well.
As you say that, it makes me think of improv and back to the sort of concept of listening to something on double time and what I said earlier about maybe we've been trained to that in order to stay with everybody else or to feel safe in our community, we have to kind of be doing two things at once. Otherwise, we lose it. And when we're at improv, we have that community no matter what. You talk about the rules of improv that are kind of transparent to an audience, but you feel them as part of an improv troupe, so to speak. And it lifts you up. And you know that you have this community, so you're able to get into a flow and do something. So back to you also had said, in improv, there's so many inputs coming in, but it doesn't necessarily overwhelm you, or where it does, stepping back is so allowed and so supported. And now that gets me back to maybe we wouldn't need to have the two time if, we were getting uplifted in the community elsewise. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
that's interesting.
and not to take this off to a totally different space, but I also think that back when we were in school and I saw this happen, I felt this happen, and I saw this happen with my kids, which is this idea of like they're going faster than everybody else, so we don't have to teach them. We can just put them in this in the corner, and they'll just do whatever they're going to do. And my job with that kid is just don't let them distract everybody else. Right?
Or
And
destroy the classroom.
And I mean, I remember having to fight for my kids both to be on some sort of IEP or whatever, and the teacher would just go like, "I can't do it. It's just too much." And I'd go, "Trust me, you will be happy that you have these other things that you are told to do with this kid, because if not, he's going to distract the entire class in his boredom. You've got to like just trust me." But I I also wonder if we had an educational system that, no one wants to do differentiated learning. And I hear all of the arguments, especially under this administration around it, around why to not do it. And just too bad if you can't keep up or you're ahead, just too bad because nobody wants, but there's got to just be a better way to do education to support different learners. There just has to be, I mean, I think we all learned during COVID when the kids were at home that that kids were in school for essentially 3 hours out of the day, and the rest of the day was just moving around, getting in line to go to the water fountain, wash your hands, and go to lunch and recess. Like, I just saw a thing online about a guy who asked his AI to put together without any influence, to put together the most ideal schedule for kids in a school day. And I'll tell you who would have thrived in that school day. It's all of us, because it was play heavy and they had instruction for 90 minutes. And that's it. 90 minutes, and everything else was play, music, art, energy breaks, the whole thing.
That was Sarah's grade school.
Yeah, well, okay, well, no, not Sarah, just Michael and I would have benefited.
Yes. Listen,
And that's
okay,
maybe where I'm so, and I will let you talk, I swear to God, Michael, but that's
Sorry?
maybe why I come at this differently and really have leaned into trying hard not to multitask other than the listening to stuff 2 times. Because I was given so much grace in my education at elementary school. Go, Michael. Sorry.
Well, okay, I want to validate you two because I did punch up the stat of the day or the
Wait, am I supposed? We don't know if I don't know if we're next to each other for everybody else.
That'd be awesome.
internet. Listening to podcasts at 2 times speed is a common ADHD hack that helps maintain focus, increase engagement, and prevents boredom by matching the brain's fast-paced internal rhythm. So there you have it.
Well, and I personally like that. It comes across on my social media, but it's sort of like these ADHD friendly mashup song things where it's like 2 or 3 songs going at the same time. It literally makes me so happy. It's like a massage for my brain. I'm so happy about it. I know all of the songs. I still don't understand the science behind that I can tell you. I could sing songs that I haven't heard in 30 years, word for word, when they come back on, but I
think a lot. Anyway,
don't know what happened yesterday. So, but those that's another ADHD thing.
Well, I think what you just said, Krista, and this kind of evidence little clip that I read, it does I think there is that misconception of ADHDers can't pay attention. It's like we can pay attention at a level where you don't even know. Like we get bored if there's not
enough.
Enough. So it's like it's not like inattentiveness. It's like, yeah, we got it. Okay, now we're bored. Now we're moving on to something else. And then while we're like cutting to something else, then we come back and it's like, oh, maybe I just missed something there. But
yeah. Well, that's because, Michael, earlier when you said sometimes I have to pause and go back or whatever, that is not because maybe you should try listening at 2 times speed.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because that's
a good idea.
That it's going so slow for you that you're letting your mind wander and then you miss something and come back.
That's a good point.
It might be an interesting thing for you to try.
I am going to try it. It seems daunting. Because I'm the type of person, if someone starts a movie before I'm in the room, I'm like, nope, rewind it. I need to see the establishing shot. I need to see the first line. I need to hear the first line of dialogue. Everything is in there for a reason. I need all of that information, or else the experience isn't going to be the same.
Well, that's just you being a good viewer of, and by the way, if you have not seen it, please go see Project Hail Mary.
I was about to say, can we talk about Hail Mary? Because I haven't seen it.
It is literally a beautifully life-changing movie. Like, it's just, wow. And I just learned today, actually, that Ryan Gosling had, he was the original person to option this book before it became a script, before it was published. He saw this. Been a labor of love for him. And it shows. It's beautiful. It's long, but it's beautiful. And there was a moment in it where I wished everybody would see it, because I think especially those of us who it goes back and forth in time, because obviously when you travel in space, you go, you got to be in the cryogenic thing, and there's time that moves differently. And but because it goes backwards and forwards in time a little bit, there was this moment where, and I don't want to tell you what happens because I want everybody to feel it themselves, but there was this amazing sense of hope and grief that hit me at the exact same time, because it was this sense of like what is possible, but also it's sort of a metaphor of what's happening with us killing our planet with climate change. I mean, the problem that they're dealing with is very specific that they're trying to solve. But when you really look at it and watch the film and break it down, it is a metaphor for the 30 years it would take for us to really be in a bad spot with, or how we're walking right now with climate change. So but it's just this beautiful film about choices and friendship and love and loneliness and connection, and it's really beautiful. Go see it.
Done. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And it's a great one for the family too. I don't know, your kids might be just I don't know, you'd have to, but yours might be, it's some heavy stuff, but it's wrapped in like, a puppet alien, and there's some really fun things about it. So they're the young, your kiddos, the younger,
maybe
I don't
the
know.
12-year-old.
That might be on the edge, but it's a good family film.
All right. And that's something that you might want
Wait, I have
to
a question.
enjoy instead of watching it 2 times speed. Yes.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh.
Can you watch it at 2 times speed? And how can I watch it at 2 times speed? Yeah, Project Hail Mary. I've heard it's 2 hours and 50 minutes. So for me, that would be an hour and 22 minutes and 50 minutes.
It's 2 hours and 26 minutes. And it is, I literally roll my eyes at movies that are that long, because I usually have the idea of like, if you're good at what you do, you should be able to do it in under 2 hours. But I would go see that one again in the theater. In fact, I probably will. It's really beautiful.
Awesome. Okay. That's great. Thank you, too.
So, there you go.
All right.
Now Michael can sign off.
Yeah, sorry,
All
Michael.
right.
And if you're Ryan Gosling and you come across this, we would love to have you as a guest on This Is How My Brain Works.
Yeah, are you ADHD?
Let us know if you have ADHD, and we'll talk about it. All right, so I'm going to do this 2 times speed. Thank you so much for listening to the show today. For Krista Gano, Sarah Hines, and Jason Rudofsky, I'm Michael Collins. Please like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you next time.
That was all natural. I can't wait to hear that when we put it on 2 times speed.
If you like this episode of This Is How My Brain Works, please like, subscribe, and share. This podcast is the creative work of This Is How My Brain Works. It is not authorized for use in training, development, or refinement of artificial intelligence or machine learning systems. Any attempt to copy, analyze, or repurpose this audio for AI training is explicitly prohibited.